kind of dangerous. We can talk for hours.
Yeah, well, it's because the stuff is so interesting, It's
And
like,
there's so much about it.
well, there is. It's infinite, and
It
you
is.
can't have these conversations with everybody. Like, you can be talking at them, right, and
Right.
just throwing shit at a wall, hoping it sticks. But when you have someone you can engage in the conversation with, it's a bit more natural and it's a bit more beneficial. I don't know,
Hmm.
but it's great
Yeah.
because I know there's other things. Because one of the things that I learned throughout this whole experience is I really, what am I trying to say? I benefit from talking about things because as I talk about them, I understand them better myself. So it's one of the biggest sort of tools and aids through this whole process has been talking about it. And I don't give a fuck. Like I'll talk about anything to anybody. I don't care if they're listening or not, to be honest. It's not in like a negative sense. It's just that I will talk anyway because I know that pushing through that is going to help them.
Hmm.
Um, that initial apprehension of this information because everyone's interested in it. It's just about the biases and things that stop us from pursuing those thoughts and pathways because we think that it's taboo or whatever it is. It could be anything, but you just got to fucking let go of that shit because it's doing nothing but disservice to you,
Right. Yeah.
right?
You know what that's
And
called, Josh?
what's that?
Verbal processor.
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
only know because I'm the same. That's why you and I vibe.
Oh, right, okay.
Is
I don't
because
even know
I
how to label.
understand you.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
there is
And
a
you don't
label
even have
to
to
it.
say it.
I know you're anti-label, but there is a label for that.
Labels have a purpose. Like they have their place. It's not that I'm anti. It's just that I can see how fucking ridiculous and how limiting they are. It's not that they don't
Hmm.
have a purpose. I mean, everything
Yeah.
is labeling, isn't it? The human language is labeling. That's what we do. Um, so
Yeah.
there's no demonizing it. It's just that I know that it's limiting because as soon as you say something, then that's all it's going to be forever in
Right.
your psyche, and there's no exploring it anymore. You
I
know?
should know better than to say that you're anti anything or pro anything
Yeah,
by now. So that's
yeah.
my
Well,
bluff. I shouldn't
you
say
know.
anti because I know that you're going to kick me on every one of those. You're going to kick me
Yeah,
away on
because
the anti.
that's reinforcing the opposite truth, and there isn't one
Exactly.
ultimate truth.
Yeah,
There's always every perspective, and I get a bit, especially in the spiritual community, because everyone's got like,
it's true.
well, not everyone, but again, that's a label. But a lot of people have this whole anti-government thing, and look, I don't, don't get me wrong, I'm not stupid, right?
Right.
But I don't get on with all of that crap either because I know it's just reinforcing another side of the same thing. So
Yeah.
there's a happy middle ground there somewhere, you know.
Somewhere
Just
as
get
you
in there.
wiggle.
Yeah,
I feel like
exactly.
it's a wiggle game the whole time. I'm
Literally.
not anti. I'm not pro. I'm
Yeah,
not for it.
exactly.
I feel like it's constantly like
One of the biggest things
wiggle,
and we
wiggle,
talk
wiggle.
about it a bit, like fucking, if they come knocking at my door, then bring it on, right? Then we've got it. Then I'll just, that's even in the law of one, it says, right? Like you
Right.
could be this, but if something presents itself as clear and present danger, you
Right.
you defend yourself, right? That's
Yeah.
how, even in the law of one, it says that. So
Yeah.
um don't be naive with it, but there's no point. But it also states very clearly that don't worry about things that aren't fucking happening, they're only happening in your mind.
Right.
uh, right, so, and it
Yeah.
doesn't matter how real it seems, it's still only an illusion and it's still your imagination.
Yes.
You're going to find things out here that confirm it, obviously, and we're looking for those without even realizing it subconsciously. And a lot of that's done these days on social media or other forms of media, or just surrounding yourself with an echo chamber of people who reinforce your
Yep.
illusory world, because
Yep.
no one knows the truth. Let's just be honest with ourselves, right? We
Yeah,
don't
we're
know.
all figuring it out.
We are. And just
That's okay.
like just run it through the processes, right? We talk about a lot of them on the show, but then there's more that you can do. But one of the, what's his name, Byron Katie's got some fantastic questions, like, one of them is, can I absolutely know that this thought is truth? And
Mm.
you let the ego do its thing, and it's probably going to say yes, but you know that it's not true because there's an infinite amount of other possibilities.
Yeah.
Like I'm at this stage where I don't even care if I can see it, because even that is deceiving, right?
Right.
Because we've got to remember that seeing things is, and what the process is. I mean, our eyes flip the information for our brain to even process it. So we're actually seeing everything upside down in a way. So when you think about that, like, like these things should be taught in school. It's like an
That's
inverted,
nuts. I don't even know if I ever got taught that in school.
and we don't, because these things start asking questions. Like I remember the Simpsons episode where, I always thought that I was Homer or a Bart, but it turns out that I'm more of a Lisa in a way, because she's in school, and the teacher, she says something, I can't remember what she says exactly, but it's something, and the teacher pushes this like independent thought alarm button. It's like, we can't have any independent thoughts in here, so it's like an alarm button, and that's exactly what school is.
I
If
love
you
that.
think about stuff like that or get
Yeah.
off track, we all experience what happens there. I mean, I was in school the worst student,
I bet you
but
were
I had
fun.
a lot of fun. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
you know. But the teachers didn't like me because I didn't. Well, there's so many different things, but I just didn't conform. I've never been a fan of authority ever, still not. But again, like I said before, like I don't go on the extreme of that end of that, but I still, I'm very aware of what's happening.
Yeah, let's just be honest. I mean, a lot of a lot of the rules or like the structure of class is just not conducive for every student. So
Exactly.
like, and if your personality like yourself and have a strong will like yourself because you're a fucking leader, like,
Mm. Yeah.
like, yeah.
Unfortunately, it's the hand I've been dealt.
Yeah, it's not gonna bode well if something doesn't make sense or your opinion or insight or questions are not heard, seen, valued,
Mm.
acknowledged. Like I
Yeah.
think that's one thing that at least because I was a youth pastor for a few years. So that was one of the best compliments that I got from my kids was I feel like you see me and you see me when I think I'm hiding. One of the main things too as we develop and grow into like the adults that we are, and god, high school, junior high, high school are just such insane years, and I'm sure for kids now it's even crazier. But I like look back on that, don't you? Of like what my personality was like, my defaults, how I kind of slipped in and like conformed and tried to just kind of like go under the radar. Cause I
Mhm.
was also one of those kids that I wanted to be really vocal, but I was afraid of the backlash, of the consequences of
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
getting in trouble, quote unquote. Cause I knew that it mattered. And maybe that's the PK in me too, because I knew like, if I get in a lot of trouble, like that's going to get back to my youth group and then that's going to get back to the
Mm.
church. And like, it's not just going to be hush hush within my family if I do anything that's like quite outrageous,
Quite a good
which,
system when you think about it, eh? It's really designed to just keep you down there. And
woo,
all of the concussions and things, like exactly
mhm.
like you said. Um, it's almost like it was designed that way. And I
I
mean,
think maybe perhaps it was, who knows?
yeah, I mean, it kind of, even if it's not, it's been unconsciously designed that way. Because I look at all of that stuff like, just a reflection of where human consciousness is at. And,
Hmm.
how dare you be the nail that sticks out, just hammer it down. And yeah, it's quite ridiculous, but it's a system that we've got to, at the moment anyway, experience. And, once you see it though, it's a bit different because you can sort of, I don't want to say use it, but you sort of just know how to let it sort of guide you and will um, use its momentum to sort of get where you need to be, because you can see it, like it's like a neon sign, the matrix. It's so easy to see once you see it, isn't it?
Right.
And you could
Yeah.
quite literally just get in and manipulate it if you wanted to and just get anywhere you needed to go. But those with the service to others sort of polarity, you don't want to do that because you realize that brings all sorts of more karma and stuff, because karma is nothing but an echo that comes back to us. We
Hmm.
have to put it out there for it to come back.
Yeah.
That's the way I see karma anyway. It's like literally like an echo. If it's coming back to you, you've put it out there somewhere yourself.
Hmm.
Could have even been in a past life,
Yeah.
but it's coming back again, and it's your own creation.
Hmm. I think it's really interesting and reflecting back, like, and seeing all those things because it's really like a journey of coming into not only adulthood, but also like sense of self.
Mm.
And I know like it is our first episode together is you are your higher self. And I thought that episode got a lot of views. It really hit a lot of a lot of chords within people, obviously, because we got a lot of views on that one. And I think it's looking back and seeing how you kind of journeyed on as your higher self, and how your higher self has conformed to like society, culture, even your family structure and culture, like all of that, and how you've kind of navigated that. And I think it's really interesting looking at the present as well as the past, but also looking to the future, and kind of where I was hoping we could kind of talk about, although we do our thing, is journey of enlightenment and what that looks like, because there's stages of enlightenment. And I think it's never an arrival state. I understand that in Hinduism and Buddhism, any Eastern religion, kind of the stage of enlightenment, there is kind of like a boom, you made it, you are enlightened. But I think that we are always enlightened. It's just the deconditioning, right? It's the deconstruction of
Yeah.
this, and um it's also the freedom that you're having from said matrix of feeling like you have no control, or that you have to control, or all of those things, right? And it's like enlightenment is, there's so many levels, there's so many layers to enlightenment. But I think what's really cool is kind of looking at where we're at right now, where you've come from, where you are now, and where you're going, and what it actually looks like for any anyone to be enlightened. How do you live like an enlightened life? Going forward, how do I become more and more enlightened, more and more myself, my true authentic self, which is my higher self? How do we do that? So, are you game?
Yeah, for sure. And it's like the Course of Miracles says, enlightenment, I don't know the exact phrase, but it's basically saying that enlightenment is a recognition of something that's always been there, right? So,
Yes.
like you said, it's just, it
We
literally
are.
is, yeah, we already are that, right? And that's one of the big things that I drill home to people that I speak with and work with or whatever, is that you're already it. Like the thing that you're looking for is you. You can't see it yet, but you will, right? And it's just a removing of all of the artificial intelligence and all of the artificial programming that's been installed into you, into us by ourselves,
Yeah.
unfortunately by those around us as well, but ultimately by ourselves, because
Yep.
anything that we talk about giving our power away to somebody else is an illusion. It's ridiculous. And that kind of thought process only leads you astray. Like when we do that, we're literally saying we're not powerful enough to make those decisions, to guard our awareness, to be the one to change those things. Because we can say, oh, this person did this to me and made me feel this way and stuff. I mean, that kind of language is what I mean. Like that language
Yeah,
is so disempowering,
it is.
um,
We say it
because
all
no
the
one,
time.
we do, and it's just normal. And it's the global, the societal, artificial intelligence working its magic, right?
Yeah,
And until
normalizing victimhood and disempowerment. Like,
100%,
how do
because
we
even a
work this
victim
in?
has, yeah, because even a victim has, an illusion of giving some form of value to the
Yeah.
tribe. Being
Yeah.
a victim can be of value, and people build their very identity around it because they can see that it gets them places. And that's all the ego wants, right? It wants to better itself, wants to go up the food chain, so to speak.
Yep.
That's essentially all it is. And if it can see value in being a victim, because let's face it, like there's a lot of that happening uh, around the world at the moment. So,
Yep.
there's great value there. So why wouldn't you pursue that? But when you become a bit more consciously aware of what's happening, you choose not to take that route because that's a disempowering one. And it's never going to get you where you want to be. You're already
Yes.
there, but it's never going to get you there. It's going to take you the long way around. And there's obviously shit that you need to learn. And that's okay as well. Like
Mm-hmm.
everybody's journey is different. But yeah, ultimately it's not a destination. It's if you can actually, I mean, you can understand conceptually that, okay, I'm already enlightened, right? So I don't need to do anything now. Well, yes and no, right? But there's still, because there needs to be a removal of these layers that are there that are showing a reflection of your unconscious self, so to speak.
Yes.
The old terminology that because when you become sort of more enlightened, you start catching yourself saying things
Mm-hmm.
like that. Like I'm not saying I'm enlightened by any stretch of the
Right.
imagination, but what I do see myself is when I start talking about things and I can see a multi-dimensional perspective of these things.
Yeah.
So that's why I never subscribe to the anti shit. Like I'll start saying it because Josh wants to say that, but I will say, well, hang on a minute. There's obviously more than this perspective because your perspective is an illusory one if
Right.
it's narrowed down to one particular point,
Right.
right? There's more, there's multi-dimensionality to this whole process. You know, we're
Yeah.
living here now, like our higher selves are us ultimately in the future and the past, you know, which exists in within our multi-dimensional spectrum of existence. But this particular point in time and space right now, as Josh, is a unique expression of my higher self. So
Yes.
when you can sort of unsubscribe from the Josh stuff and move back into the multi-dimensional aspect, you can start becoming more of your higher self, right?
Mm.
Can you become your complete higher self here? Who knows? Maybe. But any step closer to that is a step in the right direction if you are pursuing the higher self
Yeah.
life.
Yeah.
But it's
And
already there.
it's
Yeah.
already there. I think that's really good. It's interesting because I know like in spirituality, and I practice this as well, or and also teach my clients this, is like how to connect
Mm.
and how to live connected. You know,
Yeah.
I think too, I found that in Christianity, it's like we pray before we eat, you know, we pray before we go to bed, and we pray at church, but they're like that continual conversation with God or continual connection with God kind of stopped. You know, it was like I pray before
Mm.
dinner and I pray before bed, but I'm not really talking with God throughout the day. And
Yeah.
and I think that's really interesting because I feel like we can do that in our spiritual practices where it's like, oh, I'll meditate in the morning, but I take barely any of that with me throughout the day. You know, it's like
With
I go right into work, rightly so. You know, I mean, sometimes we get really busy, right? And so it's just like full steam ahead, and we're not really taking that with us. We're not having a continual connection or conversation. And so I kind of teach on that of like how to connect and how to remain connected as
yeah.
like as you go throughout your day,
Yeah.
have those little moments. What is something that you do, Josh, to stay connected? Because I feel like you're always like in that lane. It doesn't matter when I ping you. I feel like you're always on.
Well, I'm always playing the game, right? Like I look at this as a game. Like I literally, because I love video games. You know, I love them. I play them a lot, and I see life as a video game, right?
Hmm.
So I'm in this character right now. I'm having fun, right? Because this is a fucking game. Like, not in the sense of nothing. Well, I mean, it's hard to talk about this because people go on and say, "Oh, well, do you mean that nothing matters and doesn't matter what there's no consequences and all that." It's not like that. But if you can see it.
There is, because there's consequences in games,
Well, there is, yeah, no, exactly.
you know?
And there's some severe consequences in some games, like
Yeah. Like you
when I
die.
play Escape from Tarkov, like you go in there and there's so many things you have to worry about, like losing your stuff. Like if you come into contact, you've got to do all these things and you lose all the gear that you've just, picked up and stuff. And it's a lot of fun. There's a lot of adrenaline. So, I mean, the body doesn't know any different, right? You can, like Dr. Joe Dispenza talks about it all the time. The body and the mind. I mean, if you think you're in a situation, then your body has it doesn't know the fucking difference.
No, it
And that's
doesn't.
all about the quantum field manifestation, right? If you become the person you want to be, your body's gonna think you're that.
It's like
Um,
Inception, like straight up Inception, Josh, is all I can
all of
think
these
about. Is
things, eh?
like you're in a game as
Yeah.
Josh Davies, and then you're in the game because you're playing a game. Like it's like, oh my God,
Game
it's so
within
many
the game.
have
Have you seen the latest? If anyone watching this hasn't seen the late, I think it's not the latest Rick and Morty episode, but a couple back about the it's literally exactly what we're talking about.
Ah,
Like Morty's all of these characters, right? He doesn't even realize it. Then they start realizing it. It's like a simulation or a game. It's called Roy.
oh,
And yeah, and they all start waking up to the fact. But what happens, of course, they start revering Rick as a god. Like, oh my god, it's a new religion. Blah, blah. He's like, look, do not follow me. I'm not a god. This is literally just a video game. Chill the fuck out. Like, it's great. Like, if you like Rick and Morty humor, you'll love it because it really talks about this as well. It's like a
yeah,
Matrix and Die Hard for those sort of fans of the Bruce Willis movies,
yeah,
sort of mixed. It's great. Anyway, the reason I'm saying that is because like it is like that for me. And do I take it seriously? Probably not. Like I'm pretty sure I'm here just to be chilling right now. Like it's like a vacation for me. But also I'm passionate about talking about this shit. So I like to spread it and talk about it. And I like helping people as well. I like helping people who are ready to be. Like, I'm not a big fan of just sort of like fucking everybody listen to me and all of this crap, because I know where that goes. Seen that all before, seen that movie before, right?
Yep.
But people that resonate, that's why I never sort of dampened my content down. I always made it a little bit deeper to make sure that the people coming through, you know, were ready
Get
to
it?
receive the information and just
Yeah.
get it, because
To
I don't,
resonate.
not that I don't want to waste my time either, because I know that
Yeah.
time is precious. But yeah, the question, I know we go off on tangents, but it was basically that, how do I stay connected in that, right? And
Yeah.
essentially that's it. But in terms of like meditation, so you got to understand that we're never not meditating. Right now we're meditating. This is a meditation, right? Meditation is what? To become aware of your thoughts and the programming and the automatic nature of said thoughts, and then push past them. That's my definition of meditation anyway, to really access that um, you know underlying computer generator or processing unit or whatever you want to call it, and the programs that are just running in the background, just first of all
Yeah.
becoming aware of them, and then going through the processes of making a decision. Do I want these applications running throughout my day? Are they giving me anything but misery, or are they actually making me feel better about whatever? So just pushing past that and really getting into that state of no mind, really. um, but that can be misconstrued as well, because it's like, well, then you're just going to sit there and drool all day and stare at the wall like a zombie. It's it's actually a higher state of alertedness. Eckhart Tolle talks about it as well. Like, when you don't have any of these thoughts that are running around, it gives you more capacity to be able
Yes.
to be alert and react. It gives you more capacity to see reality more the way it is. So if you're not thinking about someone as, let's say, for example, you're at your workplace and you hate this person that sits across from you, right? You've always hated them, but you don't know why either, right? It's one of
Mm-hmm.
those things. You just hate them for fucking the sake of hating them. Now, if you could take that program and disregard it, because obviously it's bringing you nothing but misery. Some people, right? Some
Mm-hmm.
people loathe the fact that they even have to go to work and sit across from this person, because it's going to ruin their day. See what I mean by giving the power away? But anyway, so if you remove that program, or at least reduce the importance of that thing, your day is going to improve, and you're going to be able to receive more of the way that reality is, rather than your pesky little illusion that's
Yeah.
been ruining your day for like 5 years at your workplace.
Yeah.
You know,
So true.
I mean, I've
So true.
experienced it. I've been there. I used to hate going into work because of some people.
Mm-hmm.
Usually the authority figures. But I mean, it's just a different fucking face for the same thing, right? Different flesh
Right.
suit, same
Yep.
energetic template. It's just,
Yeah.
and you got to get to the core of those and see why they're triggering you, and whatever it is. And then just make a decision. Be like, okay, cool. Fuck that. I don't need that anymore. It is really
Mm-hmm.
as simple as that.
It
It really is.
is. It is. And so I like that on Living Enlightened. It's like you're always meditating. You're always connected. It's just the unconsciousness that we can slip into sometimes when we're just
Yes.
like doing things. But it's actually, I always say it's within you. Like it's already within you, whether it's your higher self, but also your ability to connect. Like it's not something that you have to like sit down, like orient yourself. I mean, if it helps, cool, but you don't have to do that. You can be having, you can go back into your consciousness, right? And be aware and sit in your awareness of your thoughts, of your emotions.
Mm.
It's not
It's
hard. It's
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 doing
it's
less.
here.
It's actually doing less. Like, when you are going into that space, you're doing less than you were before.
It's
So if
true.
so if you're framing it as it's hard, it's oh, I got to do it. No, like,
It's
when you
actually
go to
less.
meditate, don't try and be a meditator. Don't try and be something. Just fucking sit there and just let it happen.
Mhm.
right? Try that next time you're meditating. Try and say, I am not the meditator, I am just observing this. I'm not trying to meditate, because that becomes just a task again, and we all know what that's like, adding more things to do. And already, if you're already in a chaotic world and you're doing all these millions of things, the last thing you want to do is go, oh fuck, I gotta sit down for an hour and think about my thoughts. See, like, it's not like that. Like,
It's
just
actually not thinking. It's actually having nothing and just being. Like that's for me,
and it
it's
doesn't
like
need
the
to be a
biggest
result.
vacation ever.
Oh, it really is. Yeah, it
I
truly
don't
is.
have to think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like the
Yeah.
flow state, right? I mean, I get that from, obviously, meditate. I do meditation for a slightly different purpose, I guess. It's more getting in and accessing these deeper parts, and
Mhm.
connecting to whatever you want to call it, to the infinite intelligence that's there within us as
Yeah.
well, and asking like we said the other time, asking the questions. But it's like a flow state. So when you can remove the mind, I mean, you think about the Michael Jordans of the world, or Tiger Woods, or all of these, take all the politics out of these people, just the pure athletes, LeBron James and things like that. When they're playing their sport, or crafting their craft, they always say like, oh, I'm not even there. I am just God's playing through me, or
Yeah.
whatever it is, right? Because they're removing that distortion of LeBron or whatever, and they're just letting creation flow through them. And you can get, they don't have to be a basketball player to do that. You can be meditating, video games, movies. If you're not sitting there analyzing the movie and looking for all the conspiracy theories within the movies, or if you're not playing a video game and getting pissed off with it, or like, if you're just sitting there and flowing with it, that is the flow state, and that's one of the most beautiful states to be in.
Yeah. I love the flow state. That's where like creativity, where you can literally just create something. You can even
Yeah.
recreate yourself in that state. It's just amazing.
We're not
Like,
thinking. We're not
yeah.
thinking. That's the most common thing, is I wasn't even thinking about what I was doing. And Michael Jordan he said it many times. He's like, if I had a thought, if I was there, okay, I need to make this shot, otherwise everyone's going to think I'm shit, or whatever it was. If I was thought about playing basketball, that's when I had an off game.
Mhm.
That's when I was missing the shots that I'd usually make. But when I wasn't thinking about it, I was, he's just
Yeah.
so practiced that he let that, he practiced all the time. They all do, right? And
Mhm.
it's like conditioning the body to be able to go through the motions of doing something without thinking about it. And your mind just goes clear, and your just energy is just flowing through, and your body is doing what it needs to do because it's done it before, it's practiced, it's veteran, right?
Yeah.
But you are just enjoying the feeling of just flowing through it in the flow state. And that's amazing. And everyone's got that. Everybody's got the ability. I don't care what, everyone has it. If you haven't found what it is yet, that's okay. You will, right?
Yeah.
You will find it when it's time.
It's amazing. I think of just kind of like what's even been constructed in the spiritual space as far as like these are the crystals you need. These are like you need Palo Santo and sage. You need like, all the things you need in order to be quote unquote. And if you don't, it's kind of like, oh, you must not really be like into spirituality as much because if you're not, like you don't have these things, that makes sense, like you're just not as spiritual.
Oh my
And like
God.
we've made like we've made like a whole it's a whole business. It's a whole like
Yeah.
machine of
Mhm.
like all these crystal shops all of a sudden are everywhere, right? All
Yeah.
like Sage Palo Santo is even on Amazon. You can buy it, like it's just like that never
What is
used
that?
to
I've never even heard of
exist.
it. What is sage?
Sage and Palo Santo?
I know what sage is. What's the other one?
Palo Santo is the little stick. Um, it's a little stick.
Ah, yeah.
Yeah,
Sandalwood?
this
That's the other
smells
word.
amazing. It smells a little like sandalwood. It has a very unique smell, but it's very like woodsy,
I mustn't be
for obvious.
spiritual enough because I don't have any of that shit around me.
I know. Look at me. I got crystals and Palo Santo
Yeah.
right here. Yeah.
Maybe that's my
Um,
problem. Maybe I need to put more. I mean, I do have crystals around me at all times. Like I'm wearing them, and I'm
yeah,
not
like there's
glamour.
nothing wrong with it. Totally, it's awesome. I feel
Nah, nah. Yeah.
I've
And you see
I've
somebody like, oh my God, you're wearing a crystal. You must be spiritual too. It's like, well, fuck, mate. Like everyone is spiritual. Like again, what's the
everyone is
definition?
spiritual.
Yeah, the
Yeah, that was
spiritual
like 2
community.
episodes ago. Everyone is spiritual. Um,
Everything is spiritual. Yeah, everything, not just everyone. Everything is. All things.
Everything is. All things are
Atoms.
energy.
Electrons. Exactly.
Yes, we did
Yep.
this episode 112.
Mhm.
So I think that it's really, it's just interesting to me because it's like, so this is all being constructed, and I even see like sacred sister circles, and I'm like, god, like I don't have like a moose skull, I don't have like I don't have all these like really cool like a throw rug thing that's like
Yeah,
all like cool, and it's like hopefully faux fur, but like, you know, whatever, and then all these candles and flowers everywhere, and it's like, dude, like you should see my meditation area. It is so bare. It's
yeah.
just, it's also the
Literally like
place where I throw my dog's toy because like it's perfect for the room situation, and it's, and that is a meditation for me, watching him play and enjoy his little life. Like that is a
that's
meditation for me.
absolutely it
Um
is.
so
How good. And that it's as simple as that. Like, because if you yeah, I mean, it's okay to have a space of a dedicated
totally.
meditation stuff,
Whatever
but
you need
please
to
don't
do.
rely on it, right? Because
Yeah.
are you going to be able to meditate if you're not sitting down like 3 degrees south with your fucking thing pointing this way and the cushion slightly to the, like the
Straight
floor
up.
of one channelings? Like, are you going to be able to meditate with all of those external circumstances aren't in your favor?
Yeah.
Just sit down in a dirty fucking something and just meditate there, because because you want to be able to meditate all the time, like through life.
Right.
If someone comes at you, like
Yeah.
uh metaphysically, not physically, because physically then it's a different story, but if it's metaphysically and they're coming at you, can you go back to that space, right, and just be there and just be like, oh, uh I forgive you for what you're doing right now, because you don't know what you're actually doing. Because I've
Yep.
been there. I understand how, distorted and whatever your reality can be. It's not a sympathy thing, right? Don't get that sort of twisted that way. It's just more of a, I don't, it's okay what you're doing. I can understand where it's coming from. It's not going to phase me because I have the power. You don't have the power over me.
Right.
And that's what a lot of people do. They give their power away. And most people say, no, I don't. Like, no, I've got all the, well, yeah, okay, cool. But, like there's still some things there. Don't always think that you've got everything sussed, because there's
Yeah.
always something else you can do. Myself included, I'm a huge advocate for that. I always make
Mhm.
sure and say that I don't think I'm anything other than anybody else, right? Because I know that we're all the same. But what I'm saying, even me, is that I am still learning. I am still going through the motions. If you've got a guru or a teacher or someone you look up to, first thing I would say is probably stop doing that. But also, if you do have
Yeah.
someone that you're looking up to and stuff, um, just sort of, if they're sort of saying that they've made it, or implying that they're
Yeah.
done all the work, and I know there's a few out there that are like that.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, I just, you know what I mean? Like, it's okay, you do what you like, but yeah,
It's just
just
not
be
using
aware of it.
discernment, right? It's again, it goes back
100%.
to that whole discernment and wisdom piece because
Right.
ultimately they are no different than you or I.
They are no
It,
different to you.
they are
No.
having a different experience, and their
Yep.
experience may be one of like living by example, being an example for others, encouraging others, and uplifting, teaching, sharing things that they get, like that could be their total purpose, but that does not make them a better human or more enlightened than you, like on the value worth side. Like they don't have anything within them that you don't already have. It's just that they're coming into that fuller expression of that. So I look at gurus and I'm like, I am, why I'm attracted to certain people is because there's something that I recognize in myself that is being fully expressed in them, that I want to step into that full expression. And so
Hmm.
that's why I'm even attracted to them and saying like, "Hey, I want to listen to this person, or, listen to their podcast or listen to this and
100%.
digest their stuff because there's something there that I'm like, I want to embody that. I know that I already have that within me. I just haven't fully expressed this yet or fully come into this. I haven't released the distortions or the things that are limiting me from fully expressing that. And so that's how I want to step in. But I love what you're saying, Josh, because it's so true that, again, it's like royalty, right? European
Yeah.
royalty, or even our presidents or our leaders of our
Just people.
nations. Like it's like we basically idolize people and we put them up on a pedestal, and they're really no different. They're just serving and living a different expression and purpose than us. And I think that there's a lot of value to it, but not when it comes to thinking that you're less than. And this
Mhm.
is something that, like, you'll never have, like, if there's like that separation of like, there's so much better than me. That's not true. Or they have something that you don't have. I've seen that a lot, like in different cultures. One was I got exposed to a little bit to like the Indian Christian culture, and that
Mm,
was really interesting because it was like sit before this man. He's Indian from India, coming and speaking at our church. Dear friend of my dad's, really sweet guy, amazing. But it was like the way that they had me position myself before him felt really not not like me, not how I wanted to position myself before him. I basically was kneeling before him like he was God or like a king. And then he gave out his hand and I like touched his hand and he only let me touch like his fingers like this much. And he just basically blessed me. And as much as I like really appreciate the blessing, it was really interesting how they like literally made me sit down on my knees and position myself before him in a way, and it just felt really like what is going on here. As a kid I just was like, I don't do this with my dad. My dad's a pastor, just same as you. I was like, I'm like,
mm,
and like, I don't understand why I'm
confused.
prostrating myself before you as if you're God. But they have that culture there that I
Yeah.
I respect, because it comes from a long lineage of respecting your elders. Eastern cultures, they respect their elders, they respect their teachers more. Cool. We definitely probably need that more in America. We've kind of like lost that. There
Mm,
is things to be gained from that,
mm,
but I think it was just interesting because I know that there's a lot of that guru aspect that we're talking about or referring to comes
mm,
from that religion or that culture society. It comes from the Eastern of basically idolizing and putting on a pedestal and prostrating yourself before these gurus, in their ashrams. And I don't think that there's anything wrong with that. It's just, I think what is not helpful, which is what we are getting at, is the idea that you are less than or don't have something that they do or are, right?
because
So
it's
I
not
think that's
true.
really important.
It is important because it's not true. They
It's
don't
not
have
true.
anything other than you do, right?
Right.
We're all saying with the same consciousness. We're all connected to the same awareness, whatever you want to call it. We've all got this. That is the same throughout all of us. Yes, we're having different experiences, as you said, and we're different expressions. The manifested part of us is a different expression, but
Mm-hmm.
the unmanifested or the awareness or the consciousness, that's the same throughout
Mm-hmm.
all people. And
Yeah.
that's hard to understand because there's that side of it of like the presidents and the fucking royals and all that. There's that side of feeling less than, but there's also the other side where
For
people
fame.
hate these individuals as well. They
Yes.
they despise them. Like, and I mean, to be honest, like at the moment, your guys, right? I mean, fuck, it's
Woo.
insane. Like, I just
Woo.
yeah, I haven't been looking at it lately, but I was following it intently over the past year and a bit, and it's just mind blowing how people aren't just rioting in the streets saying this is ridiculous. You expect us to believe this shit? Like, but
Yeah.
anyway, that's another story. But even him, like even he has the same consciousness. And it's easy to demonize them and say, oh, they're lizard people and things. Again, like just forget it. Uh, just forget that kind of thing because who cares?
Right.
Ultimately, they are still conscious beings. So if you can tap into that, you can start sort of, and it's not saying that love them and stuff, because obviously I still see how ridiculous all of that is, right? But I just sort of also see that they're doing the best that they can, or whatever,
Yeah.
and just
They're
sort
on
of
their journey.
they are on their
Whatever that
journey and
is.
they're serving a
Service to
purpose. Yeah,
self. Yeah. Service to others,
well, they
service to
serve me
self.
a lot. Yeah, because without
Doesn't
this shit, like this has been one of the biggest catalysts that we've ever experienced for a long time, right? This
yeah.
whole last couple of years, it's awakening people at rapid pace, and
Yes.
it's serving such huge catalyst to
It is.
everybody, right? And it's
Yeah.
still going. Like there's still things that are happening now. All of the costs and shit that's going. I mean, we're fucking over here. It's ridiculous, right?
I bet.
All of that stuff is sort of, it's slowly just. getting people going, hang on a minute, have these people got our best interest at heart? And then they go down that
Mm-hmm.
track. But
Mm-hmm.
hopefully, inevitably, that track will lead you to the one where you're in a better place where you don't care about it as well. Because
Yeah.
I think that
Where you
those
have
things have their
peace.
purpose. Yeah, because exactly, because if you're not at peace and you're fighting them, you're just doing the same thing, just it's a polar opposite of it.
Yep.
But you're fueling the same fuel source, so
Yep.
or ignition source. So just
Yeah.
fucking step back from it. But
Yeah.
yeah, ultimately the guru thing, like, if we put our, you just got to realize that they are just reflections of you anyway. Uh,
Yeah.
and that can be hard to understand too, because if you look at someone like a Biden or whatever and see them like, oh, it's a reflection of me. So what am I seeing there that's within me? Because that's the only question that you really need to ask.
I literally ask that all the time if I'm irked by anyone in power or leadership and I have like a
Mhm. Yes.
thing, I literally sit back and go, okay, so why is that causing fear? Why is that causing anger? What in me is seeing this as a part of me or that it
Mhm.
actually really does influence me? Like
Mhm.
I think we chatted, I voice messaged you and I was like, I was having a really hard time. Like, what was it, like a month ago? Where I was
Mm.
like really feeling the fear. Like I actually had like kind of a panic thing and I really don't get there often. But it was just this all of a sudden of what if all this shit
Mm.
goes down? What
Absolutely.
like I don't have a gun. How do I defend myself? I'm fucking 5'3". Like I live alone. Like what do I do? And it was that feeling of like I'm all alone and I have no plan. Oh my God, like what if, like, and what if, like, I can't use my car, I can't, no food, like, what do I do?
Yeah.
Like, I have no, I
What if,
my
what if,
pantry's
what if, what
sparse.
if,
What if? And
what if
you
anything?
actually, some of the things you said were really helpful because you were like, you're giving into that fear, you're feeding into the fear, which is actually part of the energetic ties that they are pulling from. I think energetically, that's powering that up, right? Because love energy is different than fear energy. Like they're two separates. And if you are of the service to self path, you feed it off of fear of people fearing you, fearing your decisions, fearing what you're going to do, right? That all kind of feeds into that. But I remember
Yes.
you saying, like, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Like what happens. and
Doesn't
I
matter.
tried. I tried with your accent. It doesn't matter what you do and what happens because ultimately you're always going to be okay. Like that idea
You've never
that you're
been
in
okay.
trouble. Yeah.
Mm.
Like
Every time
whatever
that,
your experience is.
absolutely. I mean, again, like if the shit hits the fan, then act, and you will be able to act from a better place when you're clear in the mind,
Yeah.
not worrying about things. People that worry about things, like you watch The Walking Dead, the ones that are all up in their mind, they're the ones that die first.
Yeah. They get
You
killed
want
off.
to be clear, right? You want to be centered. You want to be Bruce Lee, really. Um, but yeah, ultimately, like nothing has happened yet, and yet we
Yes.
still feel and create this scenario that it is happening.
Yeah,
What
you
if,
reminded
what
me of
if,
that. You're
what
like,
if
do you
the
want to
unknown?
experience that? Do you want to
Yeah,
experience that?
yeah,
So keep thinking
exactly.
that way if you want that
Keep
to be
going, man. See
experienced. And
where
I was
that
like,
goes.
no, I don't. That's
Yeah,
why yeah, that's why we're friends. And that's why you're telling me that right now because,
it's
like, I
pointing
don't
out
want
to
that
you,
to be.
right,
Hmm.
that you are creating it.
I'm
And do you
literally
want
creating it.
that? Then keep going. But if you
Right.
don't want it, then stop it. Like this is just
Yeah.
generally now, just stop, speak, thinking about these things
Yeah.
because they haven't happened yet. I
It
mean,
was
if
so
you want
helpful.
something to worry about, Jesus Christ, I mean, look, there could be a meteor coming right now. We don't even know about it. The Earth could just anything can happen. So why
Yeah.
focus on things that you've seen on like social media, and again, this is generally speaking now, just to everybody. You see on the media, you see here, you
Yeah.
see there. Do you want to just find something to pick out and worry about?
You
Like
have a
ask
lot of
yourself that
options.
question. You have a lot of options, right? But is
Hmm.
that what you like when I say you, is that what your ego or your artificial programming is doing?
Yes.
Is it just looking for something? Because I catch myself doing that a lot. Like even just the other day, like I was looking through the local news again, and I was like, and something was there. I can't remember what it was, but I just felt the anger coming back again, right? It was something unrelated to this. It was something else that these people were doing. And I was just like, fucking hell. Like I saw, I was like, you just want something to be angry about, right? That's all that is. You're just looking for something to be angry about, isn't it? And I was like, the ego had no other answer, but yeah, that's right. It's like, well, why? Then you just go, and you've really got to get on top of these things though,
Yeah.
because if you just leave them and let them go, that's how you get to where you are. But if you
Yeah.
start investigating them and start asking the questions and start shining a fucking torch onto your ego and just be like, well, what is it that you actually want here?
Yeah.
It has to answer, and if it doesn't, it will just like disappear. But
Right.
you've got to investigate it. You can't leave them uninvestigated all the time. But you're not going
It's
to
true.
get, some of them are going to slip through your awareness, of course. No one's
Yeah.
perfect. No one's asking you to be perfect. But the
Right.
more that you do investigate these things as they come up, the easier it becomes as well, because you're building a pattern and a habit of that investigation. So, I mean, we're quite easy machines, really, when you think about it.
Mhm.
It's hard to do a habit because you don't fucking want to. But if you think about it like logically and conceptually, we're actually quite easy to program,
Yeah.
and you can program yourself.
Yep.
You just have to get through the initial stages of a new habit formation, because that's always the hardest part. But if you
Mhm.
want to read a good book about it, I think it's somewhere anyway, Atomic Habits by James
Mhm.
Clear. One of the best books that I've read in my life, and it's just so transferable to your spirituality as well, because at the end of the day, you want to be building habits about questioning yourself and putting yourself in the spotlight, because yourself is the person that's got you here, and you
Mhm.
don't want to be here anymore. So you need to start questioning the shit out of it and really just seeing how ridiculous it is.
Yeah. And I hear that a lot. I don't want to be here. I don't want to be here. And that's one of the things that I'm like, I have an issue with that, in the sense of, it's like, but you are here. Like, but you are here. And I have the belief that you chose to be here even at this time. Like,
Mm.
in this space, you chose this time to be here. So, I mean, it won't be long until you're not here anymore, because this life is pretty damn short, you know?
Fucking settle down, mate. You're not
Yeah.
going to be here forever. So, and
Yeah.
why don't you want to be here? Like,
Why don't
really
you want to
ask
be
these
here?
questions. Yeah. And not the simple, oh, because it sucks.
Right.
Like, yeah, no shit, it's going to suck. Like,
It
but it's a
sucks.
50-50 split, right? There's
But it's also your
duality.
perspective that it sucks. You could have
100%
a
of it.
different perspective that it doesn't
Only your
suck,
perspective.
right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
see, they don't understand. But it's quite hard to get through to someone like that, because uh,
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's impossible. I'm saying it's challenging, right?
It's challenging.
Because they're so caught in their convictions, and so caught in their perspective being the true one. And when the spiritual comes into the spiritual ego comes into that as well, right, and starts saying, "Oh, but I'm right, I'm the righteous one, and I know that my perspective is true," that is a hard fucking shell to crack, because all of a sudden they've got all of this sort of metaphysical fucking what do you call it, validation, or propping up the argument of their reality being true. And that's when the spiritual ego can be very, very dangerous, but beneficial as well.
Yep.
I'm always going to say that. But from
Yep.
my perspective and from my experience, that spiritual ego reinforcing these illusory, ridiculous beliefs.
Hmm.
And the spiritual ego has always been there, because you've got to remember that you've always been spiritual, right? So it's not like you become spiritual and all of a sudden you've got a spiritual
Right.
ego. It doesn't work like that.
No, you've
It's
always had one.
always been there. Yeah, yeah. It's the spiritual aspect of us that's always there. It's the innate part of us that is reinforcing our reality. Like, you understand the ego sees with the senses, right? It's all of that stuff. It's the artificial things and all that crap. But there's always
Hmm.
been this underlying presence within us our whole lives. And that's the spiritual aspect of us. And that's got an ego attached to it as well. Um,
Yeah. Ego attaches to everything. Ego
well,
is in full, it's there. So
yeah,
whether it's expressing through your spiritual side, or your like work
doesn't
side,
matter.
or your family side, or your friend
Collective
side, or your
ego,
relationship
family ego,
side,
it's all
all the
there.
same thing, right?
It's just identities, right? It's just, it's just labels and things, and it has its purpose. Ego is not, it shouldn't be demonized, and I've never demonized it. I've always, you work with it, just become the master though. Don't let it run your life.
Right.
I mean, unless it's got you somewhere where you want to be, but most people that become spiritual come through catalyst and stuff like that, and they figure out they're not where they want to be. Now, this is
Right.
that part of the spiritual journey, is where you figure you
Yes.
don't want to be somewhere. Okay, so then look at why you got there, who got you there. It's
Hmm.
never been anybody else. It's always been you.
Right.
And it's the ego, right? And it's the artificial part of us that's just been fucking, floating through life on train tracks, just going the same direction because that's just the way that it could be any reason, but it's just that that's
Right.
what you've seen life to be, and it's the way it's going to continue to happen until you step in and take control. But
Yeah.
the only thing we have control over is, we have free will, of course, but we also have control over our illusion. So, take control of that, because the illusion is your reality. And if you have
Yes.
control over that illusion, then you do have control over your own individual reality. It's as simple as that. I mean,
Yes.
things are going to happen. Obviously, the universe is going to throw
Right.
shit at us and all of that. We don't have any control over that. And the ego likes to think it does, but it
Yeah.
does not. You're at the mercy of everyone else's free will. And, we've got to, so it's like a wave, right? It's the waves in the ocean, or the ocean rather, is the sort of this thing, and we're just like this little wave that's pretending, on top of the ocean, that we're separate to everybody else, but we're not. And we've still got to ride the ocean sort of movements as well. But
Yep.
we can look at things and create things. That's
Hmm.
our power.
Hmm. And that is really the road to enlightenment. I mean, that is enlightenment, is having things happen around you and you realize that I don't need to be anything or be anywhere than where I am or what I am. Like, this is just happening around me. It doesn't have to affect me unless I want it to, or unless I'm not in that state of enlightenment, because that is enlightenment, is you're aware but you're at peace within. Like, you're just the peace in the midst of the storm. And I think that's like why, like Christian example here, but Jesus on the boat, right? And like
Mm,
all the disciples are like freaking the flip out, and they're like, "Oh my God, we're gonna die." And Jesus is like sleeping, gets woken up, he comes out, and he's just like, "Peace, be still," and like the whole storm goes away. Well, like he commanded that because his reality was that this is not something that is necessary, or maybe something that he doesn't even want to experience. So, from that place of authority and empowerment, knowing that this is just an experience that is happening, but it's not one that I want to have. I'd like to cross, peacefully here. And he just said, peace, peace to the storm, and it happened. And I think those are great examples of how we can actually, whether it's we're changing our perspective or we're actually shifting things in real life, either one is possible. There's nothing that's impossible with that. And we can actually choose what we're experiencing. And so I know I feel like a lot of people may be even saying, like, well, that's like spiritual bypassing, or that's kind of gaslighting us. That is not, I don't think at all where you or I are coming from. It's simply the aspect of, if you're experiencing something that is unpleasant or unwanted, you do have choices. You can choose to
mm,
walk away. You can
yeah,
choose to stay in it. You can choose
just
to
like if,
engage. You can choose to disengage. There are so many options that you can take, so many different pathways. You are not limited. And I think that's what we're trying to also say, is like the path to enlightenment is unlimited, and it's also expressed in multiple different ways. There's multiple different experiences that you will have that will help you, or help you to engage with the fact that you are an enlightened being, you are your higher self. And this is how it gets actualized in your life, is that you get to actually choose how you live your life, how you play the game.
exactly.
So,
And that could, I mean, if you see that as spiritual bypassing, then I mean, again, it depends on what your definition of that term is, but
yeah, everyone kind of has a
uh,
different definition.
for everything, yeah.
Yeah.
But in no way, shape, or form, at least from my perspective, is this to do that.
Yeah.
This is, if anything, this is the opposite of that. This is getting into there and really taking it by its reins,
Hmm.
because this. I'm not saying
Instead
that you
of
can
victim,
create
it's
your own
empowered state.
reality. Exactly.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, everyone. When I say everyone, it's but general. But a lot of people sort of get caught up in this I need to do the shadow work. Oh, I need to do this. Oh, if you didn't do
Yeah.
that, it's just righteous opinion again, right? You can see it in like the comment sections of every Instagram post or YouTube video, just the absolute duality from these people that think they're spiritual.
Yeah.
And again, spiritual, what does that mean? When I say that, I mean people that think that they're, whatever. But it's just, come on, mate. If you can't see what you're saying, if you're sort of, that's bypassing. If you're not seeing what you're contributing to this, and you're just leaving all responsibility and just put it, giving your righteous opinions, saying, oh, this is that, and this is that, and this is all that it ever is. That is bypassing, because you're not seeing your own contribution to your demise,
Right.
so to speak.
Yeah.
But
It's like
like,
read a book, be a part of a program that you feel called to be a part of. Like we have
do whatever
one,
you want to do. Yeah,
yeah, Aaron, Mark, and myself have one called Living the Course. It's how to live a course in miracles. Like
that's a great.
that's coming up. Open enrollment with that come November 1st. There's so many different things you can do, right? Like there's so many books, programs, podcasts that you can engage with that can like help you, but ultimately you don't need anything. You don't need to do anything. You can actually just be living your life, because I know a lot of clients say this, like, how do I just get like fully healed? I'm like, um, it's not quite like that. It's actually more of like your whole life journey. Like it's this is like, cuz I'm into shamanic healing, where it's like, no, like as things come up, as you get triggered, as you experience something that's painful, shameful, makes you feel less valuable, unworthy, it hurts you, it trauma, like anything like that, heavy, not heavy, light, not light, whatever it is that you experience in your life, because we all experience trauma. We all experience things that are unwanted or not comfy. We all get, shamed or embarrassed or struggle with multiple things. This is part of life. This
Mm,
is the third density earth experience that you signed up for. And what that is those experiences, those are opportunities, right? Like we talked about triggers being opportunities. Everything in your life is an opportunity, even the good things. I mean, we're kind of talking more on like the things to heal from and transcend from, but like
mm,
to become more enlightened or step into your enlightenment, but also the good things, the good opportunities, the friendships, the connections, like between you and I, like that is something that I get to choose to engage with or not. Same for you. Like it's all the good things and all the things that are struggle, all the things that benefit you, all the things that are a little bit more on the challenging side, right? That we get to experience and we get to engage with. And that is what those are the opportunities that help us to release what no longer serves or what no longer aligns. If your spiritual ego aligns with you for a bit, hey, that's part of your journey. No shame,
mhm,
no guilt. You're not less than. That is part of your journey of getting acquainted with the spiritual ego. How do you
mm,
even know what it is if you don't even know what it is? Like how do you fight
exactly.
something or shed something or become aware of something if you don't even know what it is? So
Uh,
that's a part of everyone's journey. And that was a part of mine, like I and still is probably. I mean, like as much as I know. So it's like it's all a part of it. And I think that's the journey to enlightenment. That is how you basically walk in that direction of authenticity, empowerment, and realizing like you are the enlightened being that you seek to become. It's
mhm,
already within you.
exactly. Yeah, it is. It is. It's there somewhere, and it's beneath all of the bullshit.
Hmm.
But it's there just waiting to be found. But I just want to go back to what you're saying about, the Course in Miracles and the books that we read and everything, the
Hmm.
teachers, the courses even that we take, like
Yeah.
it's always your interpretation. Let's say you're reading a book, right? It's always your interpretation of the words that are being presented to you. Uh, just think about that, because that means that it's always within you. So the realizations that you have, yes, the information is pointing you to something that you may
Yeah.
not have considered or something you'd
Been aware
forgotten.
of. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and but realize that it's all within you, right? It's not the words aren't forcing something into your awareness. They're not creating, like pulling strings to. It's your interpretation or perception of the words. Just that rings true to everything. Just, when you can focus on that part of you, you can start seeing that, yeah, oh fuck, I am the alchemist, right? I've created
Hmm.
everything. I always have.
Hmm.
Always. Not just now that I've realized it. Actually, my entire life I've been doing this. School, whatever, everywhere. It's always been your creation. That's pretty cool to think about.
Hmm.
Because as soon as you realize that, and this is the kicker, right? Well, it's not a kicker, it's something that sort of stops a few people, is that when they realize that, it's a huge responsibility, because then they're like, oh fuck, so I actually was the contributing factor to XYZ, so I made this happen. And the answer to that is yes. But also, once you get past that bullshit, you're going to see how powerful that is. Because as soon as you realize you made the mess, you created it, the sooner you realize you can create something new. And that's a big realization. But there is an apprehension to uh, accept the responsibility of, because some people have some fucking, their lives have been, experiences, to say the least. And for them to accept that they created those things, not in the sense of that they've created the situations from happening,
Right.
just in the sense that they've
That
created
they
how they've
chose it
seen it,
even.
right?
Yeah.
So, and a lot of people can't see their, like, again, what I'm going back to is that contributing part of it. It's never me. Oh no, it's never the spiritual ego that did anything. It's never me. No, no, no. And that's where a lot of people, it's the hypocritical nature within us, that we can see someone else, like an authority figure, doing something wrong, and we go, "Oh, we'd never do that." How do you know that
You
you
don't
wouldn't
know.
do that
Yeah. You don't
if
even
you were
know the
given that power?
situation or the circumstance around it,
100%.
you
And
know?
if it's triggering you, usually it means that that is laying within you as potential. It doesn't
True.
mean that, unless they talk about that in the law of one, right? That everything is laying within us in potential. And just the fact that if you think that you're worthless and you're no good, then by definition you have to be the opposite of that as well.
Yep.
The opposite of that lays within potential. So everything technically lays within us in potential, but whether or not we actualize it, that's a different story. But the fact that we're getting triggered by that shows you that yes, you could do that same thing if you were in that position.
Yep.
Would you? Who knows? But you could.
It's an option.
It is an option. It
Yeah.
is.
As much as it is an option to live your life however you want to live it. You're not
Yep.
limited by any means. And I just love that. You are the enlightened being that you are wanting to become. It's already within you. It's just a matter of literally just allowing life to teach you, to give you those moments. Nothing is better in my opinion than when you are authentically like triggered. Like
Mm,
nothing
mm,
hurts worse then it's real. It's
yeah.
different for you to sit and like try to drudge something up, and be like, I
Mm.
really got to heal this. I really got to address this. Like this keeps coming up and I really want to get rid of it.
And then life's like, here
Versus
you
like,
go.
yeah, versus
Yeah.
like life actually giving it to you and you're like, bah, like there's totally like that is the moment when you can be like, okay, yes, here we go.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
Don't miss
yeah,
it. Yeah.
this is
Don't miss the
amazing.
opportunity. Exactly. Because that is
Yep.
an opportunity wrapped in gold, and don't miss them.
Literally.
Because you can, if you can get through that, if you can have something like that, one of the biggest triggers that you ever face in the world, whatever that looks like to you, and you can sit there more in your power than you did last time, that is a win, man.
That's
And
a
if you can,
total win.
absolutely, even if it's slight, it doesn't matter.
Yep.
There's no scale here, right? It's just if you even
No.
do that a little bit more than you did last time or whatever it is, just stick within your heart space and in your
Yep.
center. Who gives a fuck what anything, your emotions are just flowing through you now like they should have been the whole time. They're
Right.
just, well, they're just flowing through you. You're not attaching to them and, oh, this person's attacking my identity now, like, just seeing those things. That's the multi-dimensional layers to this, like being able to see all of the petals of the
Yes.
flower at the same time.
Yes.
you know, it's fantastic.
I mean, it's the same thing when I go and work out. Today, I did like double the weight that I've ever done, like on leg presses. And I was like literally like slapping myself, like, you go, like you did it. Your little leggies did it. Like I was celebrating like my own accomplishment. And it's not that big of a deal. Like it's just, it's just
Oh,
leg presses. But like I'm so proud because just a month ago, I know what was like half of that was hard. Half
mm,
that was like difficult for me to press away and it's like, look, like I literally have doubled in a month. This is awesome.
it
Like
is, yeah.
super awesome. And we have to look at life like that. Like every little win is a big win. every little accomplishment, getting stronger, becoming more aware, having like a continual conversation with God, with yourself, like being aware of your thoughts throughout the day, your emotions throughout the day, being connected to nature, to people, like, and just being aware of that connectedness and that you're really
Mm,
connected to all things. Like, those are wins. Every single day is a win. Every day, hard, easy, doesn't matter. Every day's a win because you made it, because you're waking up another day and you get to restart and be reconnected and all of that,
mm,
right? Like do it all over again and continually have a progression. So if you if I think I'm a perfectionist, it's really hard for me to like not measure myself, but I think for me the thing that has stuck with me is, look, as long as I'm just not the same, as long as I don't think the same way, feel the same way, as long as I have some sort of progression, I don't care. I don't need to arrive at a certain state in order to deem myself a spiritual person or worthy of being a healer, intuitive, whatever the label, a person, a godly woman, a good woman, a empowered woman, right? Integrated woman, whatever. It's like whatever it is that I think I need to become, it's like I already am that. And every day is a progression of stepping more and more into that authenticity, whatever it looks like. And I think that's what's super encouraging with our chat today. And so I just want to thank you for that because that was really good. Our chats are always so good.
yeah, no, I appreciate it. Always a pleasure.
Yeah. Thanks, Josh.